Thank you, Tikva. This past summer, after about a year since I started my own design studio in San Francisco, I decided to open up shop here in New York City, in no small thanks to this idea of workcation. Now, workation is not about vacation. It's not about hiding on some tropical island, trying to evade emails from your boss or from your client. Workation is it's not a vacation. It's about finding positive, non-disruptive ways of injecting energy into your daily grind. The average American has about 121 days off of work. That's about 108 days of weekends and holidays, as well as about 13 days on average of vacation. Now, sure, we can complain about how the U.S. vacation kind of sucks compared to places like France or Italy. True. But the way that people work, typically, is about the same in most places. You basically rough it out for 5 days a week, for as long as you can possibly bear, and then you take a little bit of slice to recover. This is pretty cruel, this sort of work and binge model. It's kind of like a poorly designed diet where you basically have to eat nothing but salad for 50 weeks, and then you're allowed 2 weeks straight of ice cream. It's kind of unfair. And so I basically came up with these categories because I've seen this pattern in different places I've worked of this kind of new workation. And so those categories are take a day, break the day, and go away. And I'm going to go through each one of those. So the first one, right around the time when the recession kicked off, became very vogue for some companies to actually reduce the number of work days for employees in order to keep from people laying off. So 4 days a week, and this was scary for a lot of people. At the same time, once things started picking up in my industry, what was interesting was that some of those same exact people wanted to keep those 4 days, basically to take care of all the stuff that we neglect and we stress about, and sometimes we even take care of during the work hours, DMV. Home improvement. These are things that are effectively are unpaid labor, right? These are things that distract us from our work, that keep us out of focus, and so workation is all about reducing the number of negative distractions and injecting positive distractions into our life. Interestingly, about half of Americans don't even use the paid vacation that we have at the end of a job. So if you're one of those people, you might want to talk to your HR person about maybe having a mandatory workation policy in your workplace. Now, I have a friend who insists on taking his coffee outside of work, not because office coffee is bad per se, but because he believes that when you pull yourself away from your screen, and you get outside, even for 15 minutes, that's enough to give you a fresh perspective on your problems. Now, a lot of us can't necessarily take a day off of work, but we can take whatever it is we do and take a little piece of it and take it somewhere else, right? And the truth is, a lot of us feel a lot more chained to our desk than we actually are in reality, no matter where you work. Truth. The average person who uses Facebook in America uses Facebook for about 14 minutes a day. So if you do the math, it's actually about 5 hours a month of free workation that you're basically just throwing away on pictures of your cousin's kitten on your wall. Now, if you're lucky, you might actually have more than 15 minutes of workation. When I first started my studio, one of my developing leads invited me to Lake Tahoe for a pre-kickoff of about a week, which was amazing. I love this. So this was what our schedule actually looked like. First we snowboarded, of course, for 2 days straight until we couldn't feel our legs. And then we worked for 4 solid hours in the morning. We hit the lifts, a few runs, came back. We worked for another 4 or 5 solid hours, and the work was amazing. And what this taught me is about, being grateful for those opportunities. And you know what? Employment is actually voluntary, right? You do your work because you love it and because you care. And that's what I kind of learned from the sort of freedom and learning how to discipline myself in those sorts of environments. The most recent and the longest workation that I've had, so what brings me here, after working with clients for about a year on both coasts, I decided to come here and escape the San Francisco fog for a summer, for 3 months, just this past summer. And so the rationale for this was, working with some of my East Coast clients face-to-face, maybe meeting some new ones, networking with some new talent and designers and developers and all that stuff, and of course staying in this lovely Airbnb out in Brooklyn with a guitar and a suitcase. And what was interesting was what I was doing was more than work. It was more than vacation. It was actually growing. It was changing the way that I was working. It was changing the kind of work that I do just by being in a different culture, by being in this amazing city with different kinds of people and a different culture. So don't forget to come back from your workation. I ended up actually moving here from San Francisco. I'll be workating in San Francisco next month. But Figure out the workation that's right to you and just do it. My name is Ron Goldin. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ron.